It was beyond friendship for us, as far as just, it's really difficult to explain because...
What if everything you thought you knew about Jada Pinkett Smith and Tupac Shakur was carefully curated to hide one explosive truth, one secret so dangerous that even decades later, people are still too afraid to say it out loud? Even after dragging Jada's name through the mud in court, after throwing accusations so wild they sounded like something straight out of a Hollywood thriller, Brother Bilal didn't back down. No, if anything, he leaned in deeper. And this time, he didn't just come with shade, he came with something that felt calculated, deliberate, almost like he knew exactly which thread to pull to unravel everything. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about old beef or messy lawsuits, this was about a child, a hidden connection, a name that had been floating around the internet for years, dismissed, laughed at, labeled as attention-seeking noise, until now. Because the person being hinted at, it wasn't some unknown face, it was someone people had already seen, already heard, already judged, someone who had been screaming into the void while everyone else kept scrolling. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because for years, the narrative around Tupac has been locked in place. No kids, no hidden legacy, just the legend, frozen in time, reinforced by voices like Jamal Lassane, who stepped forward to shut everything down with calm certainty. No children, no secrets, case closed. But was it really? Because when someone like Ali Carter steps into the conversation, things don't stay neat and tidy. They explode. Her claims weren't whispers, they were loud, chaotic, impossible to ignore. Industry rings, hidden control, even accusations tied to Sean Combs. And when people told her to sit down, to stop, to prove it, she didn't fold. She escalated. She doubled down. She said Tupac wasn't just a memory, he was alive. And that's when the internet did what it always does, split down the middle. Half the people rolled their eyes, dismissed it as fantasy. The other half, they paused. Because sometimes the craziest stories have the strangest patterns. Patterns like timing, patterns like silence, patterns like certain questions never being answered directly. Because if everything was so simple, why does it keep coming back?
Tupac didn't have any kids. He wished he would have made some kids prior to his death, of course. But no, he didn't have any kids at all.
Saying that she was Tupac's daughter or somebody had to. So basically what you're telling us is that's 100% false.
Straight up 100% false, yo. Yeah, facts.
You're now.
Now here's where the story starts to twist in ways that feel inconvenient. Because while Tupac's family stood firm on one narrative, someone else from his past quietly introduced doubt. Keisha Morris didn't come out swinging, didn't confirm anything outright, but she said just enough to make people uncomfortable. Enough to remind everyone that Tupac wasn't exactly living a quiet, predictable life behind the scenes. And that matters, because history has shown us this again and again, especially in the music industry. Public image is one thing. Private reality, completely different story. So when names like Boogie Bentley started surfacing, claiming connections, claiming blood ties, people reacted the same way they always do. Demand proof, question everything, tear it apart. But the thing about repetition is that it creates pressure, and pressure, it exposes cracks. Because suddenly, it wasn't just one voice anymore. It was multiple, different angles, different stories, but all orbiting around the same center. And then Ali Carter didn't just join the conversation, she hijacked it. She didn't just claim connection, she accused the system itself. She suggested that denial wasn't about truth, it was about control, about money, about legacy. Because if even one hidden child is acknowledged, everything shifts. Estates, rights, power, suddenly, it's not just personal anymore, it's financial, political, strategic, and let's be honest, when millions are involved, truth has a funny way of getting complicated. Because families don't just protect memories, they protect empires. And that's when the whispers started turning into something heavier, something darker. Because if Ali Carter wasn't just another voice, if she was pointing towards something real, then the silence surrounding her wasn't random. It was intentional. And the moment Brother Bilal stepped back into the picture, aligning himself subtly, strategically with those same claims, people started asking a different question. Not, is this true? But, why does this keep coming back? And more importantly, and just when things already felt like they were teetering on the edge of chaos, that's when Brother Bilal stepped back into the spotlight. Not quietly, not subtly, but with the kind of energy that makes people stop mid-scroll and say, wait, what did he just say?
Nobody been arrested if they said they the one killed Tupac.
Because they're snitching to the police, so they ain't gonna get arrested.
Not just to snitch and be smart, son. Because Tupac not
ain't
dead.
as smart as you should be.
Tupac not dead. If he was dead, they'd be arresting those dudes. You know he was somewhere smoking a Cuban cigar on the island somewhere.
The second time I seen him was at his home in Las Vegas, Nevada. Everybody thinks he faked his death. He's not dead. There was many things that happened and he got set up for a little bit to still be able to live his life and still be in the public eye. He's still making music. He's still collabing with other artists to this day. But the second time that I seen him was at his home in Las Vegas.
Because this time, it wasn't just petty accusations or recycled drama. This time, it felt targeted, intentional, like he was connecting dots that nobody else had the courage to line up in public. Because suddenly, his words weren't just about Jada Pinkett Smith and her past, they were aligning with everything Ali Carter had been screaming about for years. And that's when the narrative shifted from messy to dangerous. Because when two completely separate voices start echoing the same claim, people don't just ignore it anymore. They start listening differently. They start questioning what they thought they knew. And let's not pretend this came out of nowhere. The tension between Bilal and Jada had already been simmering, quietly building behind the scenes, long before any of this exploded into public view. So when he leaned into these claims, when he started alluding, hinting, nudging people toward the idea that Ali wasn't just making noise, but might actually be connected in a way nobody was ready to admit, it didn't feel random. It felt personal. Like revenge wrapped in revelation. And here's the part that makes everything feel even more unsettling. He didn't flinch. Not even when legal threats entered the picture. Not even when the stakes clearly shifted from gossip to something far more serious. Instead of backing off, he pushed harder. Almost like he wanted that confrontation. Like he was daring it to escalate. Because people who are bluffing, they usually retreat when things get real. But people who believe they're holding something explosive, they lean in. And suddenly, everyone started replaying his words, reanalyzing every sentence. Because what if the thing he was holding back all this time wasn't what people originally assumed? What if it wasn't about old rumors or recycled scandals? What if it was about something that would completely rewrite the narrative people have believed for decades? Because now we're not just talking about rumors anymore. We're talking about alleged threats, confrontations, a moment in a public space that, if true, shifts this entire story into something much darker. According to Bilal, this wasn't just a disagreement, it was a warning. A line drawn. A message delivered face to face that certain things were not meant to be spoken about. And that's where the questions start stacking up, one after another, faster than anyone can comfortably answer them. Because if none of this is real, why respond so aggressively? Why not simply deny it outright, clearly, directly, once and for all? Why does it feel like every time the question gets close to being asked, it somehow disappears? Because here's the thing that keeps bothering people. Tupac Shakur and Jada's connection has never been ordinary. It's always been described as deeper, heavier, almost spiritual. Soulmates, but not lovers. Best friends, but somehow more than that. A bond so intense that even decades later, it still lingers in interviews, in memories, in the way his name still carries weight when she says it. And yet, within all those stories, all those reflections, all those carefully chosen words, there's one topic that never gets addressed. Not directly, not clearly, just avoided. And people notice avoidance, because silence in situations like this doesn't feel neutral. It feels intentional, like a door being held shut while something on the other side keeps trying to push through. And that's why this story refuses to die, because it doesn't resolve, it doesn't conclude, it just loops, resurfaces, evolves with new voices, new angles, new pieces that never quite fit perfectly but never fully fall apart either. So now the question isn't just about whether Ali Carter is telling the truth. It's bigger than that. It's about why this narrative keeps resurfacing, no matter how many times it's dismissed. It's about why certain people react so strongly while others stay completely silent. It's about whether this is just another internet spiral or something that's been quietly buried under years of carefully controlled storytelling. Because if even a fraction of this is real, then the story people have been told about Jada, about Tupac, about their connection isn't the full story at all. And if it isn't the full story, then what exactly has been left out? And more importantly, who made sure it stayed that way?